Sports Live. I'm Ramon Scott, and I'm joined by Dave Dickens of EastCountySports.com. Dave, joining us tonight, got a couple of stars from these East County teams from the El Capitan Vaqueros. Senior running back Donnie Green, up there in the upper right-hand corner, white T-shirt, and also, the name's right there, I guess, too, Dave from the Mount Miguel Matadors, junior quarterback J.D. LaVerdiere. Dave, I was at recent games for both these players. I saw Donnie just 3 weeks ago rush for nearly 150 yards against San Diego High School, and he's coming off a big game 2 weeks ago where he rushed for 225 yards against Patrick Henry. And well, JD, we don't need to say much about his statistics. They speak for themselves. He's already at another 350-yard game this past week. Mount Miguel did the job, particularly in the second half against Valhalla. Dave, our two stars this week.
Yeah, it's funny. I'll start with Donnie. The game I saw against Patrick Henry, and no offense that I was departing by the end of the first quarter, there was already 52 points on the scoreboard. So I was like, this thing is going to be like at least a 200-point game. I mean, let's face it. Your offense is top notch. It's I don't care what the rankings say. You guys got a very well balanced offense. You got great backs, including yourself. You have Wick, which might as well be another back himself, the way he moves around. And then, of course, he's definitely a gunslinger himself. I mean, he reads the field real well. And if he doesn't find anybody, he's out of there and he's going to get you a first down every time. And then let's not take credit away from the offensive line too, because your offensive line has been doing a stellar job as well. What do we do? And I don't want to discredit anybody, but what do we do with this defense? Because, I mean, we're able to score points every game and we can even keep it close.
Yeah, I mean, our defense is young. I mean, we only have, I think, like 4 of our senior starters on defense. So it's like the inexperience kind of hurts us. But I feel like just on defense, like we're like first half we'll do good. And the second half, I feel like people just kind of they get like mentally and physically tired. So it's just like that's when teams start to pull away from us.
I wanted to also add something to as far as the offense. I was trying to get Kip Klingerman, even Coach Ash. I said, "Hey, Coach, okay, I can't get Cole, I can't get Kip, and I think even Christine I tried to get on, more available. So I put him on, and I said, "All right, Coach." He said, "No." I got some film to watch, especially watching that El Cap film. I want to be playing top notch against Eagles. And I'll tell you what, he had some great things to say about you personally, Donnie. He said that is one heck of an athlete, and I'm looking forward to actually facing a guy like that. So he has a lot of respect for you. And as you guys know, Coach Casey and Berner, they go way back, and let's face it. Is it not a friendly rivalry overall?
No, it's definitely friendly.
Well, Donnie, tell us about it this week. We know that this game now has special meaning. The Tony Berner game. Really, if anything, I want to think that last year, the overall atmosphere of the game kind of helped propel you guys to the upset victory at West Hills. They were coming in possibly expected, I think, to win that game at home. But I think they knew that you guys might come in a little extra motivated because of Coach Berner's relationship with his son. With the story, of course, Dave, Tony Berner was a player at West Hills High School and then a coach alongside his dad, for his whole career at both schools, and just how successful he was, and that's why this game was created. So, Donnie, I think the shoe is a little bit on the other foot this year because you guys are at home and West Hills lost that game last year. So maybe they're busy focusing on this game. not that they're dodging any of our interviews. They've been with us plenty of times, but you guys certainly have that same focus. But do you have that overall general feeling, what I'm mentioning, that they're going to have motivation? Not only are you two teams right next to each other in the section standings, this game is so important for you guys. You're winless, but if you win this game, it gets you back into consideration for the playoffs, even with just this one win, and gives you the rivalry game victory once again.
Yeah, I mean, this game's huge because you mentioned the trophy. Like, that's the biggest part, but also this game, if like, can determine the rest of our season. Like, if we win this, well, our chances of playoffs are way better. But if we lose it, then our chances just go way down.
That's how important it is, game it is, Dave, for the for both these teams. I don't want to say it's going to be tough for the loser of this game to get back in the playoff chase, but they're so closely rated together. It's just an important game considering who these teams have on the schedule the rest of the year.
Well, here's the thing, and I don't know if you had a chance, Donnie, or even JD, to last week we were discussing the way that they have the league set up right now, and off the record, personally, I'm not real happy about how they have them all set up. And let's face it, El Cap has probably got the short end of the stick when it comes to the top-notch teams that they face as opposed to the rest of the league. No offense, JD, but they got some really tough. They got to place. I mean, a lot of the D1, D2 teams that they have to face. Not to mention, you know what? Ron Berner, he does actually. He welcomes the challenge, but I mean, there just comes a certain time that was 2014, the last time Brad Cable and Cap had that type of season. So I think it's time to kind of shift things around, like they did with West Hills. But our personal opinion, I don't know if Ramon agrees with me, but why not have a couple of four team leagues? And I think that would really, let's say, it would make it more fair, but at least there'd be a little more competitive, if you will. Because in that Hills League, let's face it, there's the top four teams, and unfortunately with Valhalla and with yourselves, it's really tough to play in that league.
Yeah, I agree.
It is, and Dave, I told Donnie he wouldn't necessarily have to comment on that, and I like how Dave said, you guys, I like how Dave said off the record, even though it's going to be heard by our dozens and dozens and even hundreds of viewers to this web stream. So anyway, Donnie, just one more question for you. We'll move on to JD a little bit, but we'll get you back for one more. We're going to go back and forth, but you have over 500 yards rushing this season combined, and Dave mentioned that offensive line. I want you to give your guys a shout out, mostly Carson File, Reed, and Greaves, Ryan Greaves, captain of the team as well. Tell me about those guys. You've been running behind them your whole career.
I mean, they're amazing. I mean, they've like in the whole off season, they just put in work the whole time. They'll meet up, go to the field, they work out together. I mean, they watch their film. They know what they're doing like before the game. And so, I mean, they're like the leaders on our offense too sometimes. I mean, they give 100% every play.
Yeah, Dave, and I think you look at some of the talent that the Vaqueros have, guys like Carson File. Up front, in the starting roles, El Cap has the players maybe to compete with those better teams. They just get worn down because the depth kind of takes its toll a little bit in those games against the bigger teams.
Yeah, but you got to remember, and I'm sure that Donnie agrees. I mean, isn't it nice to have a couple of Yoakleys every single year? I mean, what is there, 3 or 4 of them now that have come through El Capitan?
Yeah, there's 3 that go to El Capitan, and there's 2 on our team.
Just the speed, the hands, I mean, let's just call them, they're all-around athletes, and can't they pretty much play anywhere on the field? I bet you they could play even on the line if need be. just because they are all around athletes. I'm sure playing alongside them, even especially Yafet before. I mean, that had to be a tremendous honor to play against. Not to take away from your game, but I'm sure that helped you a lot even last year.
Yeah, I mean, they're all freaks of nature. They're just, I mean, they're amazing athletes.
Hey Dave, let me start to get Jacob Laverdiere, JD Laverdiere, as I like to call him, on the conversation. I got to see my favorite combo last week, Dave. I went down to that Mount Miguel Valhalla game. JD and Jaheim Allen Pompey. They hooked up only 10 times. JD over 350 yards in the game. My man, another 300-yard game. You're well over 4,000 yards, but man, just tough break this week, JD. You know, I thought, man, over 4,000 yards. JD's going to end up with over 8,000 yards in his career. He's going to be maybe one of the top 10, if not top 5, all-time passers in county history when his career is over. But JD, you got the unfortunate news this week that an unnamed Twitter fan, San Diego football fan on Twitter said, you know what? JD's on my list of the best seniors. So sorry, man, you only got like 5 or 6 games left in your career. I thought we had you for another year. JD, you're a junior, my man. Tell me about all the success.
I give all the props to my line and my receivers. They all do their jobs just for me to get them the ball, and it's just a team effort each and every game.
Hey, Dave, I'll tell you why JD has sat there and been so quiet as we've interviewed Donnie here at the beginning, and that's because JD knows that on El Cap's schedule are teams that may be in the Matadors' future. I mean, we already know they're going to be facing West Hills, which El Capitan plays this week. And can you imagine, Dave, the way that Patrick Henry is moving the ball up and down the field, and they are matched up in the same division, kind of right in that 8-9 position right now, where it could be some type of playoff game between the Matadors and the Patrick Henry Patriots. They don't have enough pencils for that game.
You know, really, the game that we talked about, and I hate to veer away from that for just a moment, but really, I think we talked about it when we were doing the initial camp interview over in just down the street off of Mass Boulevard with the Santana Sultans. I still am marking that one on my calendar, and I'm sure that JD agrees. That is going to be one gunslinging. I don't know. I'm just going to put it out there. It's going to be similar to what El Cap had over there of the 50-something or maybe even in the 60s. Because I'll tell you what, you got JD, you know yourself, you're going to throw, you're one of the best tandems in the county with you and Alan. And at the same time, I'm sure you followed Santana's Nathan. I mean, Nathan Temple has just been lights out. I mean, look what he just did recently, going down to Montgomery and really just annihilating the defense and picking apart the secondary. Like, I'm sure they were pretty sad after that, after a game like that. But I mean, don't you agree? Is that one of those that you look at that's going to really come down to who scores last, who has the ball last, and has a chance to score?
Yeah, he's a great player. I give him all the props, but I have faith in my team coming up next week against them.
Yeah, and I don't want you to look too far ahead. I mean, JD, we still have the Sweetwater Red Devils. I mean, yeah, look, I mean, maybe we're expected to win, but they're going to be at home, and that's going to be a tough game this week. But I think it's interesting that Dave brings that up because Santana maybe has played its way into maybe the favorite role now. I mean, I'm just looking at the power rankings and the way they list these things, and all of a sudden, the most important game of that league season is really the first game of the season in 2 weeks, and Mount Miguel, Dave, is at home in that game. But JD, can you avoid a look ahead this week against Sweetwater? They they're just 1-3, but they're going to give it their best. But right on deck is, it's the biggest game of the season.
Yeah. With Sweetwater coming up, I got my mind focused on that right now. But I can't. In the back of my head, I'm still thinking about the game against Santana.
See there? I knew it was back there, and I know we have to have. It's the age-old cliche. Donnie knows it. You know it. Ramon knows it. We got to one game at a time. We hear it all the time on the NFL. But the thing is, there's always that team though that you circled on your calendar ahead of time. That you know what we're gonna play that one, and that one is gonna be huge. Let's just skip the rankings. Just about who is gonna be the winner and who's gonna be able to. Let's face it, social media is huge now. We all know that, and I'm sure that you guys would love more than anything to defeat the Sultans and vice versa. I mean, I think that definitely is going to be one of those offensive games that if you're not playing that day, well, you already had your bye, but I'm sure Donnie, if you had a chance, that would be a game you'd even want to probably take in and strap in. That one's going to be probably similar to that Patrick Henry and El Capitan game.
Yeah.
I can't believe some of the numbers these guys are putting up, and you look at the potential of a matchup of JD and Nathan Temple. I mean, here's Temple, who had one of the most prolific games in county history, and JD already. Let's face it, JD's already got all the Mount Miguel records, and he's only in the middle of his junior season, Dave. So Jaheim is a sick receiver, man. But you have Kojo Miller, you have Anthony Mitchell. I want to know about those guys, but I asked you in an interview we did a post game this past week. I really didn't get a chance. I wanted you to elaborate more on Jaheim's ability to get open sometimes, and your ability to step up in the pocket. I mean, man, it's almost sometimes like on your second hitch when you're waiting for him to make a second or third move sometimes. How much leeway does he have when you are not maybe getting pressure and you can buy time a little bit? Because that's when he slips behind the guys.
Yeah, Jaheim will always he'll just find a way to get open. He'll see the way the corner is playing, and might not give me enough time to get the ball to him.
When did you guys experience this click? I mean, obviously you guys were connecting last year, but really nobody is matching these type of numbers in the county, at least for a 1-2 receiver. There are some other nice tandems. Maybe the ones that are in the bigger levels get a little more notoriety. But just when did you start to feel like, he's your guy?
Well, we first started our chemistry back in youth football. We played together, but during like mid-season, I would say of last year, that's when we just found our groove. We found that we clicked together.
And really, the talk of the town last year, JE, was from the defenses that I had spoken to that had faced you, including El Cajon Valley being one of them. And I know you took care of them handily, which a different El Cajon Valley team than they are this year, obviously. But the one thing that they noticed, and several teams noticed, is your ability to stay in the pocket. Now, we all know, and not that it's a bad thing. Donnie can say the same thing. I mean, Wick if he doesn't see something open, he's gonna get those legs going. And hey, more power to him. He sees a hole, he sees a crease that he can get through. He's gonna go ahead and run. But what most coaches have admired, because there's not so many pocket passers anymore, even in the high school. You just what's your secret? I mean, you're able just to take a couple steps to the left, couple steps to the right, maybe step up a bit and avoid so many tackles, and you'll take your share of hits, of course, but you're not so apt to, I got to run. I got to tuck and run. You actually stick in there and you wait for your receivers, or you wait for one of your backs to become open. And I would think almost that you guys would be working with more of the why not run some more boots or even some of those bubble screens?
I just have it's like a pride thing to me that's my pocket and I need to have that's mine. I gotta stay in there for it. And then how can I get respect from the defense if I don't handle my own?
Yeah, Dave, I'm not laughing at Jacob. I'm laughing with him. I mean, JD has those Tom Brady rushing statistics. Okay, he's averaging about 2 yards a carry, but he got 5 touchdowns already.
Yeah.
JD, who are those guys? Who are those guys pushing up front for you? Shout them out.
I got Ulysses Monhe, I got Quincy Snipes, Christian
Oof.
Bernal, Juju Ford, and Elias. They're all great O line blockers for me, and they all been working super hard this year.
Hey,
And what's the difference? Would you say not just personnel wise, but just a combination of your schemes? Have your schemes changed so much too, along with some of the younger talent that's come up, as far as how you're running the offense? Did you have to learn some different schemes, a little more studying of the playbook?
Yeah, from last year we got a couple new ones. Anthony Mitchell, he's hurt right now, but he's a nice, shorter, shiftier dude. He's been helping us our offense out and getting us some new plays in.
JD, what's his status? He's a good receiver of yours. He out for very long?
Nah, he'll be back against Santana.
Okay, great.
Ooh.
Hey, Donnie, if I could get back to Donnie for a few minutes, Dave, and we'll come back one more round here. We've got 20 minutes. I think we can squeeze about 10 more minutes out of these guys. They're pretty good interviews so far. But Donnie, I just want to know about more about the Tony Burner series. I think what does it mean? First of all, I want to go back to that game last year when you guys celebrated. I wouldn't say disrespectfully on their turf. They came over and their athletic director presented the trophy, I believe, or a representative of their school, pridefully to you guys and winning that game. But just remember what a great game it was, Dave. You were there, I believe, and I just remember coming down to Jacobo had that big sack at the end of the game, and that kind of it was in doubt, Donnie, until Jacobo wrapped that up. Tell me about the emotions of that night, and also maybe you could share your feelings about the Burner family. I'm sure you were coached under his son as well.
The game, I mean, it was huge last year because it was like the first ever like Ron Burner trophy game, you know. So like we knew like we needed to do it for our coach, you know. So we went in with a different type of emotion than we did like with the rest of our games. And like you said, Jacobo, like that right after that play, I mean, we knew we had it, and right after that, we all just got so excited that we had the game.
Dave, you were there. Jacobo Villa had the sack, 31-21. El Capitan went in and got that win. West Hills is the all-time series, 16-15. So an El Cap win would even it up.
Well, I tell you, I was actually there with he's a freshman at West Hills now. I was there with my son. We talked about the game of the year, and no offense, JD, you played some great games, but I tell you, everybody says Helix, everybody says the big Granite Hills games and the Steel games, but I'll tell you what, that game that we watched from in its entirety, emotions on both sides were just insane. I would say probably the reason, and Coach Ash would probably agree with that, is and I think that was one of his quotes that evening, is that a little bit too much emotion and on behalf of the Wolfpack, and that kind of shifted after that sack too. It kind of shifted the momentum to the Vaqueros, and I think ultimately that's what won the ball game. It was the emotions, and I'll tell you what, if there's one thing that I've always loved about an El Cap game when El Cap wins is, and I'll never forget it, is, and I'm sure Don loves it too, is when Coach Burner, and he waits until it's real quiet, and he congratulates you on the win. And at the end, my favorite is, how about them Vaqueros? I mean, there's nothing better, something like that. And that evening, the way that he portrayed that, I mean, there was tears in not only his eyes, but even you and your teammates. I mean, talk about an emotional win, and just that's one of those you'll probably carry on to college and maybe even further. That probably one of your favorite wins of probably your high school career?
Oh yeah, for sure. Because right after the win, like I mean, our whole entire team was just pumped. You could just see it in everyone's eyes, and you knew Coach Berner was just proud of us for winning and stuff.
Yeah, and Donnie.
And you don't usually, Coach Berner, you don't usually see. I don't want to say you don't see too much emotion, because there's plenty of emotion when he's out on the field coaching a ball game. But yeah, it definitely changed a little more somber at the end of that one. But I think that game and with this cup now, I guess it was many years in. They've been talking about it for several years in the making, and then for it to finally come to play. And we actually did a piece on it, Ramon, about how it came about, and there were so many people involved in putting that one together. And Coach Casey actually said, I still don't know if it's a trophy or if it's a cup or what it is we're playing for, but all I know is we want to bring it back to our place. But with that being said, what do you think, Donnie, is really the biggest key to this West Hills team, and what is really the key to defeating them, whether it be offensively or defensively?
Well, I mean, they obviously have a whole new set of players now, so it's kind of different than last year. But I think we just need to be on top of our game 20 the whole entire game, because if we're not, they can just sneak a touchdown right in, and it could just change the whole momentum of the game.
Dave, I'll tell you.
And why?
Go ahead.
And why that you? Do you know the reason behind it? I mean, you guys play such tight games. I mean, sometimes I think. Has the Santana game gone by the wayside, because you guys it's always, it's never a blowout, and it comes down to that whoever's going to make the biggest play and whoever's going to score last.
Yeah, I mean, we're always in these tight games, and it always comes down to the last play. Like last week against Patrick Henry, there was 4 seconds left. I mean, it was last play, and we came up short, but that's how it is. That's how it's been all season.
Dave, I'll tell you what the strategy is going to be for the game against West Hills, and I think Donnie knows. Donnie's accepted his fate. He had 21 carries in last year's game for 176 yards. Now, Donnie, you do got a nice other back in there that probably will help you reduce the load. Taylor, why don't you tell me about Taylor Grassmick and his contribution in making your workload a little easier? But you didn't score a touchdown last year, brother, but you had a big role in that game. You must have felt great relief when you won that game, actually, considering your performance, almost 200 yards of total off.
Yeah, I mean, after that game, I felt like it was just a good game, team win and everything, and our coach was proud of me and our team and all that.
But what about Taylor this year, having him help you out? What are you expecting the workload to be like this time? It doesn't look like we're going to be afraid to run the ball.
Yeah, I mean, Taylor's amazing. He's whatever he needs to be put in, he'll go right in. And he'll get the job done. And if I need a quick little break, I mean, he's ready for it.
Well, I'll tell you what, and I know we'll let Donnie get going here shortly, and then we'll finish off with JD. He's got his own thing going on. So, I mean, realistically, you win this game, Don. Is this maybe even a season saver where we can uh, start winning a couple of league games possibly, and maybe even squeak into the playoffs? And the season's not over.
Yeah, I mean, like earlier, this game's huge. Like this determines our season right here. Like we need, like, this is an absolute win that we need, and I think if we do win this game, it'll give us momentum going into league. Like that's the momentum like we need.
David,
then the 2 weeks to, I'm sure the 2 weeks to prepare, maybe I don't know, and you don't have to give away the secret. Maybe you took a page out of the Robbie Owens Helix playbook of practicing with some pads. Maybe one of those weeks to prepare for that. We saw the results with that one, knocking off Cathedral. Maybe there's a method to that madness.
Yeah, I mean, last week. I mean, it was our bye week, but coaches, we just didn't want to take it easy, because I mean, this is the biggest game, so we needed as much time as we could for preparing for them.
Yeah, Dave, I don't think there's any. I think Coach wants them to focus on this rivalry game this week and is making it a priority not to focus on the rest of the season, because if he just convinces the team that this is the game to win because we are 0-4 and we want to get that, we want to retain that trophy, the rest will take care of itself. Because for the Vaqueros, the solution for playoff success is simple, I think, and that's beat West Hills and beat Valhalla. You said a couple of league games. If El Cap defeats Valhalla in that one league game that is going to be highly anticipated for both teams, but then finds another way to beat one of those other 4 teams, and I don't want to say it like they're going to be underdogs, like they are. They're going to be underdogs against all of those 4 teams above them. Win one of those games, they're in the playoffs for sure, unquestionably. So I think that's the way that the Vaqueros will look at it. Just look at this game, and the rest will take care of itself. Now, for JP, I've got to encourage him because I think the Matadors see the fact that, wow, look at this. The Monarchs aren't the Monarchs this year. West Hills might be down. All of a sudden, we're hosting Santana. We have as good a chance as any to win this game. I mean, to win this league title in the Grossmont Valley League. But JD, you can't let these guys slip up, because where we stand in the Division 4 playoff picture, we cannot lose to Sweetwater. We could almost win all of those other games. If we lose to Sweetwater, it's a detrimental loss in the big picture. I think you might know that.
Yeah, this Sweetwater game is gonna be a big game for us, just according to like our rankings and everything. So we just gotta pull this one out for us.
And Dave, I don't know what you think about. I kind of made fun of JD there on his rushing, but 4 of those 5 touchdowns came in that game last week. I even sold you short on that interview, JD. I said, "Oh, JD had a great night. He had 6 touchdowns." No, he accounted for 7 touchdowns, 3 passing, 4 rushing touchdowns for the swift feet of JD LaVerdiere, Dave.
And I think, and I'm sure JD knows this as well. I'm sure there's still quite a few that are, well, it's Mount Miguel, and I'm sure he's heard that quite a few times. But I'm sure being the leader that you are, I'm sure that you don't listen to the naysayers about how Mount Miguel is not that team that's out there that's really going to be a threat. But I really think, I mean, just with you and Alan, I think that, and Jaheim, I think it's not just the 2 of you, but you have a few backs as well, and you have Ulysses on the other side of the ball. I mean, you guys do have a pretty good cast. Yes, you're down in numbers. You know what? El Cajon Valley's down in numbers. And if you look at the 2 of you, I mean, really, you guys have both played pretty good football thus far. And really, in the Valley, it's still anybody's league championship. Anybody can win that. It's just a matter of who's going to be more hungry, who is going to have the healthiest team by the end of this regular season. And I mean, what are your thoughts on that? I mean, do you echo the same thing?
Yeah, I agree with you. It's anybody's league this year. Anybody can step up and take it. My team just needs to be hungry and be able to go out there and succeed with our own responsibilities, so we can get the league this year.
And what's the biggest speech that you can remember if you're able to tell us that Coach Troy Star is kind of, I wouldn't say drilled into you, but uh, just a memorable a speech that he has given you, whether it be pre or post game, that really sits with you guys and you take that with you out onto the field.
Besides the jelly.
Besides the jelly. But he always tells us when adversity strikes, be the one who answers. So whenever there's something going wrong with the team, anything that's going bad, be that player that will step up and help the team out.
All right.
And we all know. And how many times have you done that? I'm not trying to say that your teammates haven't been there as well, but there's a reason that you're one of the leaders on the team. You do have one of the toughest positions, obviously, on the field as far as most people are concerned. But you do understand the whole concept of a team win, and that you can only win you're only as good as your entire team. I'm sure that your coach has told you the same thing, and not just Coach Starr, but the rest of the coaching staff as well. With that being said, what are your thoughts on this Sweetwater game? I mean, what do we do? What's the key to defeating this team and moving on?
We just got to keep doing what we're doing. We're doing good right now, so we just have to keep working hard on our same everything, just to keep pushing through, so we can just rally through Sweetwater this week. Hopefully, we can get this win.
It's kind of interesting, Dave, because you talk about some of the similar matchups and the potential showdown that Mount Miguel has with Santana. And I will tell you that in Sweetwater's last game 2 weeks ago, they lost to Santana 48-0. So it's kind of strange, because you think Mount Miguel, they're kind of right on par with Santana right now. The ratings say Santana's the favorite, so let's just respect those ratings, because that's what determines where everyone's falling in the playoffs. But that's a pretty lopsided game, so the Matadors can't get complacent, because Sweetwater, they're at home in this game. And the ratings, if you look at it, Mount Miguel's only a few spots away from them. Sweetwater is coached by a former NFL player, a punter, Brian Wagner. And Dave, I don't know, when I was a kid, Sweetwater was the team to beat, man. When I was these guys' age.
Well, I'll tell you what. I look at it now, and from what I've seen at the beginning of the season, and I'm sure that JD agrees, as far as the Valley is concerned, at the beginning of the year, and no offense to any of those teams, but at the beginning of the year, it was Monte Vista was going to probably be a repeat, even though they had lost quite a few of their key players. And then West Hills was probably the second favorite. And now that we look at it, Santana and these Mount Miguel Matadors are looking pretty good, and it might be just a little flip-flop there.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that, JD? I bet you didn't. Did you see this coming, or what are your thoughts on that? I mean, we just flipped it around.
I always have faith in my team. I knew that we were gonna do something special this year, but just it's all respect to West Hills, Monte Vista, El Cajon, Santana, but we just have to see who comes out on top.
Yeah, I think Dave, I think both Santana and Mount Miguel, they tried to clue us in when we were out there for the interviews, and I think you believed them, maybe I didn't. And so I offer my respect to both those teams, and I hope I end up somehow at that game. And also, Dave, we know that you're probably going to end up in a game this week, and you know that's going to be a very, very special game to all of us, to both Coach Casey Ash and Coach Ron Berner, and to Donnie Green and all the Vaqueros and all the Wolfpack. A very respectful rivalry. This is, it's the KUSI, not only the East County game of the week, this is the KUSI game of the week. So you know how important it is. A 2-2 team against, with all due respect, Donnie, we're going for our first win, but enough people respect this award already, the scholarship program, the golf tournament to raise money, to put a couple of kids possibly to San Diego State or elsewhere. All the work that these two coaches are doing behind the scenes to make this a very, very special game and a special rivalry that continues to this day, despite the fact, Dave, that El Cap is stuck up there in the Hills League.
Hey, I'll tell you what though. I'm looking at it for when it comes to this, and I'm sure that Donnie will agree with this. They're both 1-0, or they can both be 0-0 going into this game because it is such a rival game, and it may be the game of the week for KUSI, but guess what? It's also East County Sports game of the week. So I'll tell that to you too, Paul Rudy. It's our game of the week as well, and we'll be there, and I will definitely I'll be shaking your hand, and hopefully, or really doesn't matter. Either way, I'm going to be shaking your guys' hand because I think that's going to be probably the best game of the week. No offense, because I think that JD, you guys will handle the. You'll be able to handle the Devils, so not to worry there. But I think that this West Hills El Cap game, if you finish your game fast enough, maybe you can stop and see a real battle. And I'll tell you what, anybody could win that game, and offensively especially, Donnie. I mean, I don't see there's no empty spots on offense at all. You guys got every possible weapon on that offensive line, as far as your receivers, your ends. I mean, and then you got the running game. I mean, you guys can steamroll folks, and who knows? Maybe this is going to be that game that your secondary and your pressure up front steps up. Who knows? They might even get a couple of turnovers for you and change the whole tempo of the game.
Yeah.
Well, Dave, I'll invite everyone to go out there for that game. We'll wrap it up with these guys. Just want to note, though, that it's so close, and I don't want to make you make a prediction now, Dave. We have a whole nother show for that. But I'm going to give you a sneak preview right now of my pick for the West Hills El Capitan game. And I, love this matchup, and you see the records right there, and you look at the ratings. West Hills is just slightly ahead of El Capitan. Like I said, you look in the Division III standings right now. Both West Hills and El Capitan are out of the playoff picture. They're in 13th and 14th place. West Hills can kind of make amends still with their league schedule. They might be able to turn it around a little bit. If they lose this game, it's not the end of the world. They're getting the things together. They want to win, no doubt about it. But West Hills can still get healthy and get back in the playoff hunt by winning 2 or 3 games in the league season, maybe by reaching up and pulling off an upset in the league season. But for El Capitan, this is it. They have a big goose egg by their win column right now. I'm taking the El Capitan Vaqueros to win this one, Dave, by a point. And could it be by our man Donnie getting the end zone this time, Donnie, even though last year you guys won 176 yards rushing. Dave, go ahead.
I'm going to actually go out on a limb, and Coach Ash might be after me after this, but I'm going to go El Cap by 10, and I am going to say that El Cap's going to go on at least a 3 or 4 game tear and make it into the playoffs, and then we'll see what happens from there. That is my pick, and you heard it here. Everybody heard it here, so when it happens, I told you right tonight.
Hey, Donnie, Dave Dickens has the strongest limb in all of YouTube high school football shows. He's out there on that limb each and every week. All right, brothers. Thank you so much, man. It's been really cool. JD, give Thomas a shout out after the game. Help him out down there. All right. For Donnie
I got
Green
you,
of
I
the El Capitan Vaqueros, JD LaVerdiere, Jacob LaVerdiere, my guy from the Mount Miguel Matadors. You saw Jaheim, Dave. I don't know if you saw that. Jaheim was in the chat the whole time, shouting out his boy.
Yeah, my boy.
That two times five. I like that. Two times
That's my
five.
guy.
For Dave Dickens, I'm Ramon Scott. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks, guys.
See ya.
You.